What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to thank everyone for hitting the 1,000 subscriber mark last week. Pretty cool. I just like to make videos in my spare time. It's just, I've always enjoyed YouTube and it's cool to kind of hit that myself. So pretty cool. Thanks to everyone that watches. And I want to share with you a new video that I have, and that is replacing the AC clutch plate on my 04 F-150 543 valve. And again, this is not a how-to, but I wanted to go over why I changed it, what I was looking for to determine that I did change this, and then ultimately, did it solve the issue that I was having when I would turn on the air conditioning in my truck. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it and I'll see you under the hood. Alright guys, so the first thing that you probably want to know is, what is this clutch plate? And to put it simply, it is the clutch that engages the AC compressor when you have defrost on or you turn on the air conditioning. This is how the actual compressor becomes powered by the serpentine belt. I think it's important to understand a basic overview of how these systems work. I'm just going to come right out and say I'm not some AC expert, but I have learned quite a bit from kind of dealing with this, and I think it's a very good thing to continue to familiarize yourself with your vehicle, and it, makes troubleshooting in the future a whole heck easier. So the basic way that these systems work, I'll put up an image so you can see. You have the compressor itself, the main kind of housing, how it all, the whole shebang. Then you have a coil, you have a pulley, and then you have the clutch plate, and that's what I'm holding here. And so that whole system is on one shaft that goes into the AC compressor, and under normal circumstances, that pulley, which is also mounted on that shaft, is just spinning on its bearing, right? So when your engine is running, that pulley is just spinning. And I understand that some different systems have a separate AC belt, but it's the same idea. So that pulley just freewheels. The way that the AC compressor engages is when you are turning on the defrost or you turn on the AC button, that coil energizes. And so this clutch plate has a specific air gap. There's a washer that goes inside this spline snout. And so it's spaced the right amount off of that pulley that's always just spinning when the engine's running. So that coil will energize when the button's pressed to turn on the AC compressor, and it actually sucks the pulley and the clutch plate together. And that is how the AC compressor then turns on, because this clutch plate is on a splined shaft that goes into the AC compressor. It locks itself like a manual transmission, clutch to engine, against the pulley. And then you're able to have the compressor engage. It's pretty simple when you think about it, but there are different parts that can get a little confusing, and then you have to kind of understand, which is the next part, how you check to know that this failed or if it's something else. So understanding the basic overview, you then have to think about, okay, if the idler pulley for the AC is just spinning, if you have a noise when the AC compressor is not engaged and it's coming from that pulley, then you know that that pulley is probably faulty, right? Because if you're going to have a noise that's constant, it doesn't matter whether the AC compressor is engaged or not. That pulley is always spinning. And sometimes those pulleys fail over time. The bearings go bad. You can take off the serpentine belt. That's what I did. I took off the serpentine belt and was able to spin that pulley. And mine was super quiet, felt nice and smooth, so I knew that the pulley wasn't worn. You can hear how rough it is. On my truck, it would make the noise when I would press the AC button, and that, to me, makes logical sense that the AC clutch was getting worn, which it clearly is. I'll give you a side-by-side so you can see. When you press that button, that's when this engages to the pulley. And so mine would make a screech and then ultimately a bang when it finally locked onto the pulley and the AC compressor started turning. Makes sense, because over time, thousands and thousands of cycles on and off of this clutch, rubbing up against the pulley, disengaging, rubbing up against, locking into place, it's going to wear that metal down. And over time, that air gap enlarges to the point where it doesn't get a good grip anymore on that pulley, and it causes the slippage. The same exact concept of a manual transmission having a clutch wear out. All of those, I mean, thousands and thousands of slipping in traffic, pulling out from a stop, backing up in reverse. You get what I'm saying. It's just constant use on and off, friction. It's going to wear that surface down. And so if you have a noise typically when the AC compressor is engaging, it's a good idea to check out the clutch plate, and that's going to be likely the culprit. So ultimately, this did take care of the issue I had when the AC would engage, but it didn't fix, obviously, the other noise, right? I have an AC compressor that is making noise every time it's engaged. It's whining, it's probably failing internally, and it makes sense because I put a temperature gauge in my vent, and I'm only getting down to low 50s, high 40s with the temperature with the AC compressor on when the Mustang gets down once I'm driving into the high 30s. So it's clearly not working right. It shouldn't be making that noise, but kind of with the expense of everything right now, and heading into the fall, it's not something I really want to get into right now, and I'll just keep an eye on it, and if I have to, I'll go through and rebuild the whole system. I just don't want to get into that if I don't have to. But this clutch plate completely silenced the slipping and the banging and the screeching when the compressor would get on. So for 35 bucks, I thought it was money well spent. And I just wanted to make this video to give you an overview and just a brief example of, how you check it. It's not worth throwing parts at things. You really should take the time to understand, which is what I do, how things work, so then you can understand. I can take the belt off, I can check the pulley. If the pulley is making noise, then it's probably the pulley. If the pulley is nice and smooth, if it's only doing it when it goes to engage the AC compressor, then this is likely going to be your culprit, and you can pinpoint and just spend the little bit of money you have to instead of just constantly throwing this barrage of parts at it. So I hope you guys got something out of this. I appreciate everyone watching. Thanks again for getting me over 1,000 subscribers. That's pretty cool. And I will talk to you in the next one. Take care, guys.